Welcome everybody to Life on Track TV. This is all about helping you get into the driver's seat of your own life. Not my life, not John Gray's life, it's your life, personally and professionally. I'm your host, Erin Ley, and I'd love to get right into this because I love John and he has an incredible resume and so much to say. So I'm going to start by reading his bio. I don't want to leave anything out. John Gray is the author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. USA Today listed his book as one of the top 10 most influential books of the last quarter century. In hardcover, it was the #1 best-selling book of the 1990s. Dr. Gray's books are translated into approximately 45 languages in more than 100 countries and continues to be a bestseller. Dr. Gray has written over 20 books. John helps men and women better understand and respect their differences in both personal and professional relationships. His many books, blogs, and free online workshops at marsvenus.com provide practical insights to improve relationships at all stages of life and love. He has appeared repeatedly on Oprah as well as the Dr. Oz Show, Today, CBS This Morning, Good Morning America, and so many others. Welcome to Life on Track TV, Dr. Gray.
Erin, it's a pleasure to be with you again.
Oh, I love this. This is part 2. For everybody listening, part 1 was last month, and John got into the differences between the men and women. And this is his whole thing, and rocked the world in the 90s. I remember when the book came out, and I was like, oh my God, this man is fabulous. And there are differences between men and women. I believe God created men to do what women can't do, and God created women to do what men can't do. So we got into that in part 1 and relationships, personal relationships. Now we're going to get into love in the workplace, but specifically about leadership and team building and all of that. So, but my first question I ask every expert every time you come on, even if it's 10 times, is how did you get into doing what you're doing and why? Because new people might be watching. I'm sure they are new people.
Well, I've been a marriage counselor for 40 years. And as a marriage counselor, I realized over and over and over that what they were learning in psychology classes and modern psychology was actually defeating the purpose of their relationship. They were constantly being told men and women are the same rather than understanding we're different. And if we think we're really that similar, then we presume our partner thinks like us and behaves like us if we love someone. And so it's very easy to misinterpret each other because we don't understand that men and women register things completely differently sometimes. Now, other times it's just the same. So I was able to discern after about 10 years of counseling couples that women were constantly misinterpreting their partner's behavior. Even when she's talking, he looks away. She'd say, see, he's not listening. No, he's thinking about what you just said. And then she says, is it true you're thinking? He says, yes. It's just men process information differently than women do, and we communicate in different ways. Often, I mean, I made so many mistakes in my own marriage, but I learned from them by listening to all these women complain the same things about their husband. You know, when your partner is complaining about you, male or female, or upset with you, you kind of assume something's wrong with you or something. But when you see that and you get defensive or whatever, but what I found is that women that came to me, mostly women, and that's normal in counseling, mostly 90% of the people who go to counselors are women. Their complaints about their husband could have been, they were like all the same husband. They all had the same complaints, and men rarely had the same complaints. There's where, to simply put, men would say, you know, the only problem really is she's never happy. And that has switched today. So I've written another book, but now often women say, my husband's not happy. He's complaining all the time. There's a lot of switches which have been taking place because the environment, the terrain of relationships has radically changed from what was stable for several thousand years, where men were the bread earners, the protectors, the go outside guys, and women were the nurturers, the homemakers. And that all made sense. Women make babies, so men do everything to help her make the baby, and then you'll have an army when you grow up, when they grow up. So this is how we're wired up. And it's not just that, you know, our culture has decided we're this way. Culture was wise. Okay. Culture set up a system where men and women could love each other more and work together and survive and have security. But today the world has changed. You can create survival on your own. You can create security on your own. So according to Dr. Maslow, who talked about the stages of our needs, hierarchy of needs. When a lower need is met, then another need shows up, and then another need shows up. And right now, whether we're aware of it or not, that once women can do what men do, and you mentioned that men and women are different. Women can do anything a man can do, but she's not going to sleep at night if she does too much of it. And men can do what women want, and they'll be exhausted and tired and unmotivated all the time. And why is this? Because certain activities and behaviors trigger certain hormones that are motivating in women, and different activities stimulate hormones that are motivating in men. And most any woman who's been in a relationship with a man knows he loses his motivation. And you have to learn how to spark it. And in the workplace as well, how to communicate in a way that motivates men, and also how to communicate in the workplace or in your personal life that women are always motivated, but how to help her feel stress-free, because women's stress levels are twice as high in the workplace. And then when she returns home, whether she's married or not, they double again. The world is not yet adjusted to support women in the workplace. But with this awareness we're going to talk about today, I think we can make some improvements.
I love it. I love it. And when I was talking about the differences between men and women, I'm thinking like women's hips basically like spread when they're giving birth.
Yes,
like
they can make babies and men
can't. Built that way. That's what I was saying. God designs us different in that sense.
That's very nice.
And then I want you to get into leadership and smart communication skills for business success. This is so important.
Yeah, well, in terms of leadership, and leadership is everybody's a leader in certain situation in the workplace. We want to be an inspiration to others. We want to have the power to motivate others, to influence others. And that's done by good communication. So what it's good communication can build trust or not build trust. And certainly we all want people to trust us and support us and create cooperation. But one word here and one word there can sabotage your ability to build trust, whether it be in coworkers, working as a manager, working with clients, working in marketing. Gender intelligence is highly, highly significant, and it's something that we can learn quite easily. Emotional intelligence goes along with this, and that can take a while to learn. We'll touch on that as well. But just simply understanding where men and women are coming from, it's literally with the insights in my books, it's like, wow, I didn't realize that. Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, really? Because it's such a quick insight, and your experience will say, yeah, that's happened before. It's an easy turnaround, just as if you were in a house and you kept going down a long hallway to get out, and somebody said, hey, did you know there's a shortcut? Really easy? Yeah, it's just a matter of knowing I'm sabotaging rather than building trust and caring. So if I want to communicate, if I want a woman, I'm working with a woman to trust me, which is creating a positive environment rather than be defensive or resistant to me, I have to give messages that I care. See, if I show I care, then someone will trust me. And particularly men don't know how to demonstrate I care. It could be as simple as, I'm at my computer now, because I'm at my computer now, and somebody's working for me, was to walk into my office. I might be more engaged in what I'm looking at, and I look away and say, what is it? What is it? And then look back at the computer. Now, if that person is a woman particularly, she will take it as an insult, like she's not that significant, she's not important. Because the truth is, if the president of the company walked in, I would look up and say, what is it? Because there's a hierarchy, the workplace has a hierarchy. So if let's say we're all equally working together, a team, and one of my teammates come in and I say, yeah, what is it? And I keep going back to my computer. Women take notice of those things more than most men do. Why is that? Well, because we always interpret experiences based on our own experience. And women do have a multi-directional brain. There's 8 times more white matter in a woman's brain than a man's. There's also more gray matter in a man's brain, which are centers of focuses of how we use our brain. And then there's a communication between all those little pockets of gray matter. And men have more gray matter, women have more white matter, which means that they can hook up a lot of things at once. I tell you, even today, I just got a puppy. And I'm alone. My wife died 4 years ago. I'm with my little puppy, and taking her out every 3 hours. She's got to pee outside, otherwise she pees in the house, and got to feed her, and I got to do my work. I mean, this is like exhausting for me. This is massively exhausting because my brain wants to do one thing particularly at a time. And the more a man is on his male side, the more he tends to be this way. Now, some men are more on their female side. And as for example, if you look at nurses who take care of old people, it's almost all women except for Filipino men. Okay.
Oh, wow.
You know, that they're just tend to have a lot of nurturing energy. And we actually look at our brains and we see that one side of the brain, the right side of the brain, has it lights up when we're feeling empathetic, compassionate, when we're relationship oriented, when we're thinking about what to wear, when we're thinking about what to eat. All those factors as more activity on the right side of the brain. And, you know, fixing your computer, fixing your car, driving somewhere, solving a problem, achieving a goal. How do I get there most efficiently? Engineers, particularly, there's left activity in the left side of the brain. So women have a left side and men have a right side. So it's like, what's the difference? Well, the difference shows up in every single person who's born. Is every woman, no exceptions, has the right anterior side of the brain, which has to do with, as I said, the more personal things, is bigger than her left side. Now, does that mean she doesn't have a left side? No, she has a left side. For every man, his left side is bigger than his right side. And that has a lot to do with our male-female differences. Now, activity on the left side of the brain, which is impersonal activity, you know, fixing my car, looking at the map, you know, all those kinds of things. Those impersonal activities stimulate to a great extent what we call male hormones, testosterone. And these right brain activities, we stimulate what we call female hormones. And what are those hormones? In short, testosterone for men, estrogen for women. And for men to feel motivated, their testosterone levels need to be 10 times higher than a woman. And for a woman to feel trust and acceptance and positive feelings, like I love my job, I feel supported in my job, I'm working hard, but I'm not stressing out. You know, we see a lot of women working hard, but there's a lot of unhappiness or stress, and that's measurable. The stress level in women being twice as high as men on average. There's always exceptions, but has to do with she needs 10 times more estrogen, 10 times more right brain activity. If she's way on the left side, she's making more testosterone than estrogen, her stress levels will be higher. And that's been proven. Whenever a man has stress levels go up in his body, responding to his work, his life, his relationship, himself, when stress levels go up, his testosterone levels are going down. And for women, when her stress levels are going up, her estrogen levels are going down. So when I demonstrate caring, like when she comes into my office, if I realize it's a woman, I'm going to pause and I'm going to look at her, which says, I care about you. A man comes in, I can stay looking at my computer. He knows I'm just focusing on the computer. It's not personal. He's not going to take it personally because he does the same thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's a powerful point that you just made. Absolutely powerful. And it sounds so simple, I guess, you know, but I
It's
want
showing
everybody in a
consideration.
right.
You know, consideration. Men require less. We require consideration, right? You know, but
Sure.
primarily it's pay me, give me
Right.
space. Don't
Right.
question me on what I'm doing so much. You know, in our surveys, and we had over 1,000 men and women in workplaces. We interviewed them and whatever. And today I like to talk about some of the conflicting complaints. Okay, for a man, it would be what annoys him the most about the women he's working with. They ask too many questions. They're interviewers, you know, and they're trying to create connection, you see, but
Right.
asking men questions can sound like you're questioning his competence.
Like an interrogation.
Like an interrogation, right? Why did you do that? Well, why didn't you do this? Well, what did you call him? Or what were you thinking? You know, this sort of thing is very, you could do this with a woman. She might feel challenged, but a man will feel more challenged or threatened by it. It's just annoying. A woman, I could walk into a woman's into her workspace and say, well, help me understand why you're doing this. Oh, what? And that, by the way, is much better, men, than saying, why are you doing this? That why always pushes a person's buttons, even if it's a woman. But for a man, he's going to be more resistant. That's what they said. And that's been my experience.
Right.
Women will tend to ask too many questions. And you can apply this to dating as well. You go on a date with a woman, she's going to interview you.
The first date's the interview.
That's right. And he doesn't even get to know you. You need to talk more. You see, it's men build trust in a woman for her to trust you. And everything in life is, can I trust this person? Are they on my side? And women have a big issue with trust. Okay, you've got to build trust in women. I'll give you an example just from statistics. When a man gets divorced, he's married in 3 years on average. He figures, okay, I can trust another woman. Whereas a woman, she takes 9 years, and much more women never get married again because they go, okay, done with that. I can't trust myself because I picked that guy and it turned out to not work out. And I can't trust guys because no one teaches women how they unknowingly contribute to the problems in relationships. I'd say 99% of the books on relationships are written by people who listen to women all day long. You have to remember, these experts, they listen to women 90% of the time. So they don't hear the male side of it. They're not educated to understand the male side of it. I grew up with five brothers. And so I understand guys. And also I was a monk for 9 years with only men. So I know how men think very clearly. A lot of men, they don't really know what's going on inside. But when I tell them, they go, yeah, I just need to go to my cave for a while and give me some space. And I'm thinking about it. I'm mulling about it. And I can't just go right to my emotions, so they don't have that. So I articulate it and men go, yeah, that's true. That's true. So in the workplace, if you want to create a conversation with a coworker and you're a woman, I highly recommend don't use the phrase, what do you feel? Feeling accesses his feminine side rather than his masculine side. It's not that you can't, but there's a preference here. You see, you want to motivate men. Whenever you talk about feelings, men lose motivation. They lose energy. They lose testosterone. Feelings generate estrogen. So how do you feel about that? You could say to a woman, does this feel good to you? Does this feel comfortable to you? What can I do to help you here? See, whenever you're helping somebody, offering to help someone, estrogen goes up. That's why, even when a woman is questioning a man, one thing, it can sound like he's being challenged, or she's just wanting to create conversation. Like, what are you doing there? And how you doing that? Yeah. And she's trying to connect. Whereas men, particularly when they're challenged, and the workplace has a lot of challenge to it, give me my space. I'm not here to have conversations. I don't want to talk about stuff. I want to get to work. And so if that tends to be more the masculine type man. But if he's doing that and you're a woman, instead of taking it personally, you realize he's just focused on his work. We tend to become hyper focused. Now, here's what's interesting is if you see this whole modern thing now called ADD, attention deficit disorder, right? So it's often completely misunderstood. A child who is in a classroom, and it's particularly boys, 2 to 3 times more boys show symptoms of ADD than girls. And what's going on is the teacher's talking and the kid is just bored to death. Okay, bored to death. And then they keep moving or whatever, or they want to do something else and throw spitballs or whatever it is. They can't. Right. So you think that child has an attention deficit. Actually, put that child in a computer game and they have total focus. Put them outside playing baseball and they'll have total focus. Get them doing something and they have focus, because doing, engagement, produces testosterone. That's the key hormone. We need 10 to 20 times more than a woman to stay motivated and engaged. Whereas women have this natural mechanism of being engaged and motivated, even over motivated, part of their nurturing hormones and so forth. But they don't have the ability that men have, generally speaking, to just disengage. See, a guy can be working on a project and he goes, okay, nothing more I can do. Forget it for now. Women have a hard time forgetting things for now. They're carrying it home with them. And that's why they say, measure women when they get home, stress levels double. Now, a funny thing on that one is sometimes women will say to me, well, that's because she's coming home to a husband who does nothing. And I can agree that can be stressful, because women don't know how to motivate men. You have to learn how to motivate men. But
I have a quick question.
But the study holds true even if there's no man at home. Just keep that in mind. Okay. So it's not the man that's always
Right.
causing stress. Okay. But
Right.
it's easy to assume that because when you're stressed, and here's very important, when a man is stressed or a woman is stressed, the brain goes into a bias of focusing on negativity and can't let go until your stress levels go down. That's very
Mhm.
challenging. So, what I've learned is if you do behaviors and communications tools that can actually raise estrogen in a woman and help her to calm or be more relaxed or be happier in the workplace, and behaviors that can act and communication skills that can motivate men more so they do more and they're more cooperative and more supportive instead of grumpy and grumbly, which sometimes women go, oh, he's so irritated by whatever I say. Well, it's not that he doesn't like you. It's just what you say is irritating to him. And you can balance that with these three phrases. I like to always do some practical things here.
Yes.
That's whenever your man's talking, he'll never get tired of you saying in response, oh, what a good idea. That's all. What a good idea. Another one is, well, that makes sense. Okay. And yes, that's giving, actually pumping up his testosterone, showing that he's logical. He has a good idea. That another one is, you're right. Everybody, when you're talking, you can always say, well, you're right about that. Or, you're right about that. You just don't realize that those words carry huge power to motivate men to cooperate with you. So that's the whole thing, which is, it makes men feel good. We want to be in a workplace where our interactions are helping other people feel good. And
Yeah.
for women, what men can learn is what I just mentioned a few minutes ago, which a good therapist will use, which is, help me understand that better. Let's talk about this. We'll get through this together. What else? Tell me more. See, these are all inviting phrases to articulate what's inside of her to come out and be heard. And on the flip side of it is almost the opposite thing is, don't ask men questions. Don't get them talking. Once they get talking, they talk too much, so just let him do his work. And well, that makes sense. That's a good idea. And how to engage men, motivate men, is asking them to do things. Sometimes women will imply a request, and how which doesn't work. You have to be very direct in a friendly way. And friendliness is always good. Okay.
Yes.
Any negative emotions in the workplace, not so good. All right. Just let's not negative emotions, even at home, not so good. Multiply times 10 in the workplace. Now, and I have to say, I was, some friends of mine, I like them. They're good friends. We just have different philosophies. They're experts on relationships and therapy and and they're telling women, you need to be authentic in the workplace and share what you feel. No, you should not be sharing what you feel. The workplace is more about what you think. If you're having more of a conversation with a friend or whatever, or if I'm asking a woman, well, what's going on? What are you feeling? More of an intimate thing. But you have to be very, very careful with feelings in the workplace. It's just a context that doesn't necessarily embrace feelings. Now, why do I say that? I mean, people don't like when I say that, some people, but the workplace is about selflessness. It's not about me. I tell
Right.
stories about me only to make a point. It's not about, when you go to the workplace, you don't complain, you don't whine. See, these are concepts that build testosterone. I tell men in relationships, never, ever raise your voice. Never get angry. If you if you're angry, just take time to cool off. Do something you're good at. You see, that's a way of lowering the anger for a man. And for a woman, write out what you want to say, but don't show it to anybody.
Right.
Often we think we have to use negative emotions to create change outside. It doesn't create change inside. It creates resistance outside. You're no longer leading people in the positive direction. You're bringing them to their lowest self. Because when you display negative emotions in the workplace, people mirror back negative emotions to you. In a primitive world, they use negativity to manipulate people. Anger is an intimidator. Hurt and sadness is, oh, feel sorry for me, do things for me. Fear is, okay, I can't do that. You do that for me. But you're weakening your position. Anytime you have a negative emotion, just know you're coming from your victim self. We all have a victim self inside. If you punch me, I get a bruise, right? But I'm not going to go around showing my bruise to everybody. I'm going to go do it at home. So we have to be careful about that, because we live in a world of freedom, and freedom is great. That's why women are in the workplace. You no longer have to be stuck at home if you want to be more independent in your life. And the world has changed. And as we are free, gone to this higher level of emotion, No longer are we survival or security motivated or and being part of a team. That's a basic my tribe, your tribe, which the workplace, we do have our little tribes and that's okay. But the bottom line is when we have that fulfilled, then we go to a higher need, a hierarchy of needs. And the need is for emotional fulfillment. And the design of the workplace, if you just look at it the way it used to be, and it's changing now, the design of it was to provide a higher level of emotional fulfillment if you're a testosterone driven person. If you're an estrogen driven person, it doesn't really support you much. That's why it's very important for me as a man to be a leader in the workplace, to understand that women are highly competent. Of course, I see them, I don't want to sound like a sexist, but they're more competent than men because they don't lose motivation. They're never just going to sit around and do nothing. They're not going to sit there and play video games. They may waste some time on social media, but have you ever noticed that I was just for a joke here, lighten it up. I'll go to some store and I'm waiting to use the restroom and it's a long time. And you know who's in there? It's an employee looking at their emails. Out, and you kind of, would you get out of there? Anyway, so the point I want to get to here is if I'm talking to a woman, I just have to set the clock and say, this conversation is going to take a little longer than what I think my instincts, I'm a Ferrari guy, if I could afford a Ferrari, I'm a fast guy. I want it to the point. Let's get to the point. Let's move it forward. And that's a temperament type, but it's also very masculine for most men. And some men are more easygoing, they're just like, it's too slow. Right. But those same men listening to a woman will want to interrupt her and say, well, what's the point? Where are you going with this? What is it? And you have to, to demonstrate caring, take time to understand a person's experience and their feelings. That's the number one need. When somebody shows you caring and consideration, offers to help you, respects you, doesn't judge you, doesn't put you down, those actions, we all deserve that as human beings. It's just that women need it 10 times more because it's estrogen producing, and women need biologically for well-being and to lower stress, women need 10 times more estrogen. So when I say 10 times more, I'm not kidding. This is biology, is that women are constantly needing messages that they're part of the team, that they're included. So I don't want to be unfair here. I said men's big complaints is women. There's a big long list here I can go through. We're going to go through a few.
And you're dropping so many golden nuggets. I don't even know if you realize this. Like it's just one after the next.
Yes, so good stuff. It's fun
so
stuff.
Good. So good.
Normally I have to be honest, I'm bored talking about the workplace, but you're really a good interviewer. It's your facial expressions that you're taking it in and you consider them gold nuggets.
They are.
The work environment that many people are in is different from the environment I create because I'm an introverted writer and so forth. And I go out and I give talks to be extroverted. Sometimes you can be both. But I understand. I've worked together with other people and so forth. I have my own office. I have my own team. And my experience is so much more powerful knowing this information that if there's a woman who it seems to be, and there's, a range of women, just like there's a range of men. There's a woman who's definitely more aggressive or motivated and active, and she's in there. She's more on her male side. This woman will often have challenges in relationships because relationship world depends on women being more feminine than the man. Okay, it's very important. So in the workplace, if you're more masculine than some of the men, even, you're going to be more successful because part of success in the workplace is putting others in front of yourself. That's motivation. I'm going to do what you need to do. We're going to stay on this. We're going to show this. We're going to do this. That drive, that is our male side. And some women, because their just nature is to have more of that, their challenges in relationships to come back to their female side, because you can't have the emotional fulfillment and intimacy and passion that people are looking for today and not getting without women being on their female side. This is where if somebody doesn't understand biology, they say, well, John, that's completely sexist to say. How could you say that? I said, because I'm a 50-year counselor. And the biggest complaint couples have is they stop having sex. I analyze their relationship. I point out to her how she's more masculine than he is and what he can do to help her come back to her female side and what she can do to use him to come back to her female side. And that's what we talked about in our last talk. But likewise, in the workplace, there are some women, they're more feminine and they don't immediately jump in there with the team and go as fast as some of the men. We see them often as incompetent, and they're not. They're just more feminine, and feminine, just to say it as a quote from me, is wisdom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mars is efficiency, confidence, get in there. But there's something called wisdom, which is, well, we do this. What will the consequences be? Let me take some time to consider this and explore all the possible negative consequences of what you're planning to do. See, that's the nature of the female side of us, is not to look at how do I get there as fast as possible. It's, well, when we get there as fast as possible, what effects are we having on the children, on the environment, on the company, on people? What will our reputation be? What will the consequence of this be? How will this affect our children, other workers in the workplace? See, that's the mothering part of us, and that's wisdom. I mean, this is, and often the most competent men make the biggest mistakes. You have no idea, or maybe you do, how many mistakes are made in businesses you never hear about.
Yeah.
You know, they don't advertise their mistakes. That's their, instead of you get in trouble for a mistake, you get promoted quite often just a mistake.
I have a quick question along these lines
with
the difference between men and women in the workplace with what you're just saying. So my thing is bringing love into the world, specifically the workplace. You could have a culture of kindness, a culture of generosity, but when you envelop all of it in a culture of love, for the man to show up as the best version of him in love, you know, showing up with love, and for women showing up with that feminine side as opposed to that masculine draining the adrenals kind of thing. I find it personally, I find that more powerful when the woman shows up in her strong feminine side at work. Like it's confidence, John. It's just confidence. Go ahead.
Exactly. I mean, you don't see it that much. All right. But I'm glad you see it. But yes, you have tremendous power when you're in your feminine. So let's define female power and male power with our goal to have both. Okay. You want to have both. So masculine powers, look what I can do. And I say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And I'm going to work on becoming better at it. Okay. That's motivation to be the best, to win, to achieve, to accomplish. That's our male side. And to serve, I mean, meaningfulness of, I want to make a difference and help people. All right. So that's our male power. The female power is the power to have other people do it for you. So just think about that for a moment. I can do it. I can get other people to do it for me. See, you can female power is to motivate other people. It's the essence of leadership, is to motivate other people. What does the mother do in the home? Motivates the kids. Her love is what pulls the best out of people. That's her gift. That's your female power. Now, I have female power. You know, I'm a happy person. I'm a fulfilled person. And I certainly motivate people because people have written my books, you know, and I'm a leader in that I walk my talk, kind of a cliche, but it's who I am. I'm a demonstration of that. I've got thousands of stories to show how I learned this stuff. And so when you're an example of what you talk about, which is love, generosity, kindness, caring, focus, attention, inclusion. Although I hate to use the word inclusion today because all the people who are using inclusiveness are excluding and canceling everybody else, quite paradoxically.
Yeah.
But inclusion is a key thing to support the female energy. So I have my team, we have our team meetings, which are very important. Everybody's part of the team. It can be very productive, or it could actually hurt someone's feelings because some women will be considering what everybody's saying. She's taking it in. Okay. She's taking it in, and she's not going to just jump out with an idea. As the others, we're all just jumping in. Men will tend to talk without thinking. They just react. Okay, you said that, I'll say this. And we assume if nobody says anything better than what I think is the best. I'll just say that again. Men assume that if I think something's right and nobody says anything better, in my opinion, then I'll put it out there. Women will often go, well, I think this, but let me hear that point of view first. And let me consider that more. They're more considering of things before they come out like, well, I think this, you know, which often, as a side point, many women say they just don't feel confident to move ahead in the workplace. They feel like, I don't know if I can do that. I've never done that before. Well, you get a guy, he'd never done it before, but he figures, hey, why not raise my hand?
Right.
You can
Right.
see, you can see,
Right. It's a shame. Yeah.
and so women often lose confidence because it seems like guys always seem to know what they're doing when they don't.
Right.
Where
Right.
she's going to be more gathering information, more experience before she's going to stand up and say, I believe this. And not that she can't do that, but they do tend to think more about these things, consider them more, see the bigger picture, because they have 8 times more white matter in their brain. So everybody's active in the conversation. There's actual research showing that if a man has a stroke in the listening part of the brain, there's a part of the brain in men that lights up when they're listening, right? If he has a stroke there, he'll never listen again. Women have 8 parts of the brain that light up when she's listening.
Oh, wow.
And so she could have 7 strokes and still listen. And that's,
Oh, wow.
yeah, we are really designed very, very differently. He's hyper focused. She can focus, but she's taking in other things, which has to do with, if I do this, what would happen? What did they do in the past? What can happen in the future? She's looking at the bigger picture. Whereas men will focus on, and we can be very confident in getting there fast and how to get there the best way. So when you have a conversation between men and women, you can bring in both the parts. But better communication is, men will often think things like, oh, she always just brings up all the problems. She thinks the problem, let's just ignore her and get ahead. Don't bring her into the thing. As opposed to, if he just could understand that when there's challenge, a woman just needs to talk. You don't have to agree with everything she says. Just like if I talk, you don't have to agree with everything I say.
Right.
But men just feel it's slowing us down. And often it's slow. She needs to talk more because she doesn't feel heard. So there's a place where if you just take a moment, and this is really true. I have to give a funny story when then people can remember this, but I remember teaching a class in Soviet Union, and it's a long time ago. Okay. So teaching this class, actually, it was one of the countries of the Soviet Union. And there's always a little bit of language problem because they're being translated and so forth. And then I bring people up on the stage to answer their problems. And this man, he comes up and he complains about his wife. And I said, well, have you tried what I just mentioned? Like learning how to listen. That's one of my key things, how to listen, the best way to.
Right.
He says, oh, first of all, he says, I do everything right. I do all the things you say, but she's still this way. And I said, well, what have you tried? And have you tried listening to her? He says, oh, if I start to listen to her, go on for hours. There's no, it's ridiculous. That's why it goes on for hours. He's pushing her. It's pushing her. Then it's almost as
he's doing everything right.
He thinks he's doing everything right. So you just have to practice. A key thing for men is just it's a way to pivot instead of, well, what's the point? What's the point? Because they want to push to that. Instead, help me understand that better. That's a very supportive, inclusive thing. You're part of the team. You're bringing them in, and what are you thinking about this? Is another way you bring a man into the team. What do you think is the best way we should do this? And then when you disagree with it, you're not going to do it. You don't try to convince him as to why his idea is wrong. Women managers, women leaders will often want to be so inclusive that she says, what do you think we should do? And he says, well, I think we should not do this. We should do that. And she says, well, but I want to convince you why my way is better than yours. And because she wants everybody to be equal, we all agree. He's trying to get consensus. When a man just goes, look, if you don't want to do it, no big deal. But it's a sense of, you have to give him a message that he's not being excluded as an incompetent guy when he has a different point of view. You just simply say, this is particularly if you have authority over him. You're making the final decision and he's made a decision. What he's needing is some kind of reassurance that what he said makes sense. That's it. You don't have to agree with him. And for women, you don't always have to agree with them, but you have to be inclusive of them and understand a bit, just like 5 minutes longer than what you would normally take, or 3 minutes longer what you'd normally take. It's so amazing. But I'm thinking about my customer service woman. Okay, so she's a great customer service person because she can listen. Okay, she'll sit there and listen to people. People like her or whatever. So she's the perfect person for that job. But she's not like really masculine. Okay, none of the men on the team would want to do that job. All right.
Right.
So when we have our group meetings, she doesn't contribute until I wrote this book on Mars, Venus, in the workplace. And I realized I was doing this wrong with her, which is everybody, the way men think and then the way women think. Let me set it up and then the solution. I've got a group of men, say let's 5 men in a group, and we're all contributing, except one man's not contributing. He's not saying anything. We ignore him because we don't want to embarrass him, because we know if he had something to say, he would say it.
Okay.
So we're not going to say, well, Bob, you haven't said anything. Okay, that's pointing out Bob doesn't know anything. We know it all. Okay,
like
so
the kid in class that doesn't raise their hand.
that's right. So you don't point it out of acknowledgement that, you know, he doesn't have anything to say, no big deal. We're not going to point it out, make fun of you or push you down. So men will tend to just ignore somebody's not speaking up. Whereas if I have get a group of women, this is very funny. Women make sure everybody talks. Okay. And I watched this when it wasn't so much in the workplace, but long before I wrote Men Are From Mars, I'd sit in these restaurants where they had round booths, and I'd be in one booth, and I like to listen into conversations of women in a circle. Okay. So it'd be like 4 or 5 women together, 6 women. Because I tested all my ideas, not just in the therapy room. Okay. It's out in the world, and it's playing basketball, and it's talking to men, talking to women. So you got a big, broad audience other than just people who come to therapists, and nothing wrong with those people. Okay. So, but I would listen always. It made sure every woman made sure everybody got to talk. And there's quite often there was one woman who said nothing. And then they all went, what is it, Carol? We know you're having these challenges. And then Carol feels, oh, they really include me. They know I'm going through this difficult time and I'm being drawn out. So that is something that women instinctively do, which is to draw out the person who's not participating. Let me bring them into the circle. Well, men don't have that instinct. And you can see this in childhood. All these huge studies on boys and girls in the schools, whereas boys will always have a hierarchy, you know, and you have to try to get in, and they don't like bring you in. It's follow the leader, usually the biggest guy, the most aggressive guy, and unfortunately the most dysfunctional guy, unless there's parental supervision or teacher supervision, which is missing today. And a side point. But for the girls, they tend to bring in the younger girls, bring them in and gather them in. Because see, that's that nurturing side. I don't want to have you feel left out. I want to bring you into the picture. Now that's changed a lot today. Girls can be very, very mean and aggressive because they're on their male side more. They're out of balance. Whenever you're out of balance hormonally for your gender, for your body, you are not generous. You're not loving. You're not kind. You're none of the qualities you want to put out, but you're selfish and you're reactive and you have negative emotions and you're petty and you're jealous and you compare, and all that negativity is coming out of girls today more than ever. They bully each other. It used to be boys would bully. Now it's the girls bullying each other more so. It's hard. It's hard for a woman to have her. See, women have the wisdom of the planet. Women have the nurturing energy, the love energy. It's what you're doing, Erin. I think that's why I'm enjoying this talk so much, which to me sometimes talking about the workplace is boring. And why, if I analyze it for a second, it's because the workplace is not that thrilled with changing to include women. Okay, so these female qualities, they just don't want to hear it. They want to, we're going to get ahead. That's just slowing us down. Why do I have to do that? And fortunately, as more women become more leaders, we can bring more of these values into the workplace, and it is starting to happen. And the challenge there is that for many women who became leaders, they went to their male side and forgot their female side, and they can often be tougher than any man.
I don't think
lady, you did it, and you're going to do it too.
Right, but I don't think that works as well.
Oh no, none of this works.
No.
Anytime you're out of balance, you're not going to be connecting with people. You're not going to be trustworthy. You're not going to demonstrate caring. You're not going to have the patience to be understanding. You're going to be judgmental and critical. You're going to be too demanding of people rather than providing the kind of support that everybody deserves as a human being. However, let's talk about how to support. But I want to finish with my customer service lady. So basically, we're all busy talking. Everybody's got ideas, men and women and so forth. And then she's not saying anything. So one day I said, well, Carol, I would just give that name for her. Carol, I know you have a lot of experience with this. What do you think? And she paused And probably I would have should have said, and how do you feel about what we're saying? But that might have brought out more. But I think I said, what do you think? And she says, well, I like a lot of the ideas, but my experience is this and this and this. And that changed the whole conversation. She brought in another element. And that's the idea that diversity can potentially bring in more.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
I'm not a big believer of forced diversity.
Right.
It's creating huge problems
Right.
for, you suddenly you get countries immigrating into each other who don't already love each other, and they're not working. You have to have a commonality to handle a certain commonality in your communication skills and your value systems and so forth. Then within that, diversity works. You don't throw people of different cultures together and expect something good to happen. It's been the source of all wars in the past. It's not a good thing. But when we have similar values, and so many speakers like me will talk about setting your values of the company. These are our values. And you go through, you mentioned some of the values you have, which is friendship and cooperation and integrity and honesty and support, respect. Respect is a key one. And if I was to remember, I talk about certain types of love are 10 times more important. Respect is 10 times more important to women than men.
No, I'm sure.
This is the most important thing, is to be respectful of women, not make jokes about them, not roll your eyes at them, all these stupid things that men do.
Right.
Because we could do it to each other and it would be not a big deal. Like, oh, that's a stupid idea. We could say, you don't say that to them. There's a sensitivity there that needs to be honored. And it's a higher sensitivity in most women than men. Now you've got these wimpy men, unmotivated men who are too far on their female side. No fault to them. It's just they've been taught to talk about their feelings and complain and whatever. And they go home and complain to their wives, and their wives pretend to be interested. These women don't know, she needs to share more about her feelings of the day. He needs to listen more. When men listen more, femininity increases, masculinity increases on his side. And same thing in the workplace. If we men can be more attentive and listening more to women with validating statements. So this is another communication skill in our time together. A validating statement is if a woman is talking about something that's this isn't working, or I had to do this, or she'll have some complaining coming out. Because you can't just say never complain. Okay, things come out. Look, I need this to happen.
Human experience, yeah.
And also a complaint is really just a primitive form of a request. And many people, in order to ask for something or make a change, they complain, which is not the best communication skill. But when they do, it's what a woman can know to do if she's talking to a man, if she has a request and expressing it in as a request or as a complaint. She'll get a better result if she says before it, she says, now it's not a big deal, but something important to me is. Okay. It's not a big deal. It's very important because, see, when a woman asks for something or complains about something, because she has more estrogen, there's more of an emotional charge to it. Okay. Now, an emotional charge. And the research shows that women will have 8 times more blood flow to the emotional part of the brain. So that's the emotional charge. And a man will have decreasing blood flow to the emotional part of the brain under small problems. So small problems, women have a surge of emotional energy, and men have a no emotional energy. They detach. They actually, if they had emotion, it will go left. You've talked to a guy and he just suddenly detaches. He's thinking about it, mulling it over. So that's his testosterone going up to solve the problem. And for her, it's her estrogen going up to get help to solve the problem, to be heard. A simple way for people to understand this is imagine 1,000 years ago in a little village, and a woman's pregnant with her baby, and she's going out to get some water from the well, and she sees a tiger. Well, what's she going to do? She's going to run back and she's going to tell somebody. So danger, women talk, because she is not the aggressive force. She's going to tell her partner, and he's not going to sneak around in the jungle to get rid of this danger. So men become quiet. Actually, what's happening biologically when men become quiet is they're building up their testosterone to think more clearly and not be emotional, to not let your emotions rule you. A matter of fact, I mean, if you're going to go after a tiger, you can't be feeling a lot of fear. You've got to be right? So, and she's got to express her fear, so he's motivated to go do something. So how to validate a woman is never judge her as if you're making a big deal out of this. That's what men will say. Oh, you're worrying too much about it. It's not a big deal. See, this is dismissive. This is disrespectful. He
Totally.
doesn't know it because he doesn't understand women's sensitivity. The same behavior that we say is disrespectful is not disrespectful for another man. I was in my men's group the other day and I got all upset at somebody and somebody said, John, I think you're overreacting. And then I paused and went, you're right. I'm overreacting. Excuse me. I'll ponder this for a while.
And you were over it.
Done. And so what men don't know is they say, oh, you're overreacting. We're pushing the emotions down because we think you're like a man, because men don't become emotional over little things, but we do become emotional when the problem is so big that I can't solve it.
Can I ask another question?
There, women suppress their emotions when the problem's too big. So when a woman becomes detached, men don't realize this is a big problem. When women are emotional, men don't understand this is a little problem for her. He thinks because when he's upset, it's a big problem. Otherwise, he's cool, calm, collected. That she's saying, I'm upset about this, and it's a big problem. It's lions, tigers, and bears. And so his reaction is, calm down, lady, calm down. What's the big deal here? Oh, crazy woman. So what to do is when you have emotional charge, to preface it with just this little statement. It's $1 million phrase, change every relationship in your life. Now, this isn't a big deal, but it's important to me. I just want to be able to communicate it and let you consider it. Not like sign up to do it right away or promise you're bad, you're no good, and look at them with your eyes. None of that stuff works. If we're looking at what you can do that works,
right?
Reflect on what's going to happen if you just have your emotional outburst or whatever. Instead, you could actually be quite not perfect if you just preface it by, this is not a big deal, but I just want to say this, if you consider it. But it's like putting a sandwich around what usually men get defensive around. And then he won't be defensive. He'll consider it. He'll think about it. You'll be his partner, his friend. This is these little tools can make a huge difference. But unless we accept men and women are different, they're insignificant.
Exactly. And working on the differences, like you can accept that we're different, but you got to put the work in through your work.
You got to learn the language. It's like if you go to Japan, I teach in Japan, you got to have a translator. Nobody speaks English there. You got to have a translator. So we need to have a little translator in our brain, a little Google that tells us, all right, here's another way to say it. Here's another approach. And I know
John Gray. They needed John Gray in their books.
So I'll tell you, Mars, Venus, in the Workplace is filled with these gems. It's one of my books I wrote 20 years ago. Now, having said all this, I don't want to leave without few more important things. To build trust in a relationship, to build positive feelings in a relationship, to increase cooperation in relationships, all that. Think about men and women, and I'm going to give you extremes. For testosterone production, which helps men stay cool, calm, and collected, that's when they're generous. That's when they're sacrificing their lives to save others. He runs into a fire. You see, this is what men do when they're feeling the stimulation of testosterone. Now, testosterone, in order to build testosterone in men, he needs to feel trusted, like he can do it. So whenever you give a complaint, it's kind of like knocking down some testosterone, okay? Another one is when he feels accepted. Nobody's trying to improve him or change him, which is why when men would say, I don't like her asking me questions all the time, it's like not trusting him. It's like, I'm going to dig in some information to give you advice. And the third one is men need to feel appreciated. Now, women, it's their number one complaint is that they don't feel appreciated. And I'd like to reframe that into they don't get the respect they deserve. If they got the respect they deserve, then they would realize that they're appreciated. Because our survey of men, and huge thousands of men, do you appreciate the women you work with? Oh, like 85% said yes. And that we asked the women, do you feel appreciated in the workplace with men? 85% said no. And so then, as a general thing, when you're asking for help, for example, you're trusting somebody. Right. If you're interrogating them, you're not trusting them. Okay, so offering unsolicited advice is not acceptance. You're not accepting them the way they are. You're trying to improve them. You think you're being nice and supportive, but unless they're open to it, and you can tell some men are very open to it because they feel appreciated by you. But if they don't feel appreciated and you give advice, they're just going to push it away. And so you got to be sensitive to these things, because men's sensitivities is they need to feel trusted, accepted, and appreciated. For women, they need to feel that they're a priority. You care about them. They're important to you, that you understand what their needs are and where they're coming from, not judgmental of them, and that you're respectful of them. You see, when I respect someone, their estrogen goes up. When I appreciate someone, applaud for me. That's why I did such a good job today. I feel so appreciated by you that all this wisdom comes out. You bring out the best in me. So that's appreciation. So it's a little bit confusing because women say, wait a second, I want to be appreciated. So a closing story, because our time is turning out. It's how I first learned about men are from Mars, women are from Venus, from my experience of having a female assistant. Okay. And I had a little business then, a seminar company, a counseling company, and she did everything. Okay. She was a dream, no problems at all. Never have to tell her everything. She handled my finances, the rent, the bills.
We love her.
We love her. We love her. We love her. Okay. She's the best in the world. And she came to me after about 10 years of working, no, about maybe 5, 6 years of working with me. And she said, John, I think it's time for me to move on. I said, why? And she said, I didn't know to say, help me understand that better. I said, well, tell me about that. And she said, well, I just feel like I'm not being appreciated. And, you can see that it was a shock to me inside because, I totally appreciate her, but wasn't good at communicating that. So she said, I just don't feel appreciated. And I said, all right, well, help me understand that. What would it look like if you were if you were appreciated by me? And she said, you would know what I do. Now that's the reason I appreciate her so much.
Right.
I don't have to know what she does. The results are there, so this is a man's dream is I do what I do and you do what you do. And I don't have to know what you do. It's just like you get paid well. And I asked her, did I not pay you enough? And she, no, you're very generous. A few months before I gave her a big raise. So
interesting.
It wasn't the outcome. It was, she was feeling, I didn't know what she did. So in her world, how could I appreciate all that she puts into the job if I don't even know what she does?
Right.
As a man, I don't need you to know all that goes into my writing book. I just need you to buy the book. Okay. Then I feel in my time.
Right.
To know all the hardships in my life I've gone through to develop this material. I get songs on that. Because acknowledge the result, testosterone goes up, give me space to do my thing. Don't tell me what to do. Let me handle it myself. Don't look at my mistakes. Wow, I feel great as a man. She felt, I want you to know what I go through. And I said, give me 2 weeks. And then she worked for me for another 10 years. And the 2 weeks was, I just practiced something new. I started asking questions. So what are you going to do today? And how did that meeting go with so-and-so? And how did you feel when they said that? And then practice, tell me more. What else? So she got a chance to connect with me, as the person she works with, she's practically like my wife, she's doing everything for me, but and it wasn't, I need to be romantic with her. I don't need to spend a lot of time with her. I didn't need to do therapy with her. I just needed to know the things that she did and then come into the office occasionally and say, how did that meeting go? I know that was challenging for you. And then she felt appreciated, which ironically, if someone treated me that way, it's not going to make me feel appreciated. What's going to make me feel appreciated is that you buy my book or you pay me money or whatever.
Right.
So that's what I began to realize. We have to learn how to give the support. I had to respect what her need was for connection. And then she would feel how much I appreciated her. But it just it says words are important. They're so important. And not talking is important sometimes, But one passing thought at the end, as a man learning to listen to the women you're working with, to build a sense of connection where they can feel that they are being supported, they're being included and so forth. And that is when she's talking occasionally, well, tell me about that. Help me understand that better. These are powerful phrases. And then when she talks, if there's something, if you can use these 3 phrases, use them if there's a place for it. And just to say, well, that must be frustrating. Just bring an emotion into it. That's an estrogen stimulator. And she may not even know she's feeling frustrated. She might go, yeah. Or she might go, No, not that much. You go, no big deal. Don't correct her. No, you are frustrated. Just throw it in there. Give her a chance to notice what she's not feeling. Well, that must be frustrating. That's one. Oh, that's so disappointing. Now, no, it's not disappointing. She might, if she's more on her male side, she'll say, no, 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 it's okay with me. But still, you connected with her. See, there's a dynamic there of just bringing a little bit of the feminine into it. And then it's like, well, let's talk about your concerns. Okay, that's a key phrase. Women love to talk about their concerns.
Right.
And just let her talk about her concern. Well, tell me more. And why is that a concern? Help me understand it. So, and then let her talk for a while. It doesn't mean you have to fix him or solve it. And so I appreciate you telling me that, we'll see if we can work on that. Just nothing, but hear out those feelings of frustration, disappointments, and concerns. And it brings up her feminine side more in the workplace. Otherwise, she can get sucked into we're just machines getting the job done, doing this and doing this. It's a grind. It's literally like femininity is the color of life. It's the juice of aliveness. It's the passion and joy of life. It's the emotion of life. Otherwise, we're robots. Men are just robots without women. Okay.
You're brilliant, and everything that you're saying is absolute genius. And everybody's got to listen to this over and over and over again, because you said so many powerful things in just 1 hour. I mean, like you've given a lifetime of material in an hour for people to really up level personally and professionally. And when you can do both, because people that are working and they're killing it and crushing it in the, making money and career, but their marriage is falling apart, where the kids are not being seen. And that's not success. Success is when you have the whole package, which is what you're teaching everybody. Really, really quick. In the late 80s, when I was working on Wall Street, Series 763, all that kind of stuff, men on the trading floor of Salomon Brothers would have like obese strippers come in and they'd chase you around the desk, and it was so disrespectful. Yeah. So insanely disrespectful. I used to hide in the bathroom. Like my productivity went through the floor, and I'd say, knock on the door when it's over, because I don't want any part of this. And I left. But when I left, I was in an environment that was much more supportive, and my productivity went through the roof. So for people that want, my assistant, well, he's my marketing director, my tech guy, my everything, Thomas Holland, amazing member of my team who's just incredible. I don't know anything that he does. I don't want to know about tech and marketing. Like, that's what I hired him to do.
That's right.
But he knows what questions to ask me. Like, how did the meeting go? How do you feel? Are you ready to push forward with the next video? Like and I didn't even realize until you were just talking about this, like, have a great working partnership, together. And
you're giving him just what he needs, and he's connecting with you.
Yeah, it's everything you're saying is brilliant. And what a difference between the 80s and now today, after Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas and that whole, I sat back eating popcorn with that one. But
my great grandmother was the first woman doctor graduate from major medical school. She's a tough lady. We used to have our conversations as well.
Right. But when you have somebody, my Aunt Rita was one of the first women traders on Wall Street. Wow. Yeah. And she was very feminine, but she stood in her power, in her feminine power. She didn't have to be that manly kind of.
That's amazing. That is, some women can naturally do that, and that is an amazing thing. And I would say what was nice for her is that she was in a culture that actually supported women being in their feminine. The culture used to support that. And then she was able to rise up with a high self-esteem and find her masculine side. But the culture of we live in does not help women to come back to their female side.
Right.
And that's what I'm working on with my books, which is, and Men from Mars did change the culture quite a bit. And then there was the opposing narrative has been trying to squash it, but I hang in there. I'm bringing it out.
Yes, you are. And you've been doing this for a quarter of a century. And that's what my book, Work Love, is about. Bring love into the work, the culture of love, respect. It's another word for respect. When you're showing respect, you're showing love, and
all those things are love, appreciation, trust, acceptance, caring, empathy,
any positive. Right. Any positive feeling is a feeling of love, because the only other thing you have, if you don't have that, is you have fear, and anything negative falls into the category of fear. And who's going to have great productivity in that kind of an environment?
It's very, very true. And I want to make a little distinction for everybody here that you just brought out. Whenever somebody's angry, they're also afraid, because if you're not afraid, what's there to be angry about? Okay. But if somebody's angry, they're not aware. And I'm just saying this so they can be more aware. Men get angry, right? And they think they're being so powerful. Women see right through it. It's just defensive and afraid. How can I trust this person?
Right.
Not trusting in themselves. It's one of the most powerful ways you lose the image of competence for others to trust you is when you express anger. And what men need to know as well, and I'm having great success with this in relationships, is for men, once they understand the idea of testosterone and estrogen more feminine. And then the research shows that when a man is angry, his feminine energy is shooting up and his male energy is going down, his testosterone going down. It's purely a sign of weakness. And if you want to be attractive to the opposite sex or in the workplace, to be trusted, someone you can follow, someone who can inspire you, just process your anger privately, not with other people. This is not the place to dump your negativity. Workplace is to serve others with love.
Yes. Yes. I'm going to leave it with that because you are brilliant. Is there anything on your head of your heart that we didn't cover?
I covered 2 chapters in my book, Mars, Venus, and the Workplace. Definitely a good investment, I think, for people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they can go to marsvenus.com and pick it up there.
It will send you the
everywhere.
Yeah.
But I want them to go to marsvenus.com because you also have like a free workshop and you have tons of resources there for people to get in touch with you. And I thought everybody should work with you. You're so good.
Thank you so much.
So good. So
I just want to say one more time, your appreciation of me brings out the best in me. And that's what women, as part of women's power, is I can bring out the best in the people around me. And me as a man, because I come from a place of generosity and caring and respect for others, it brings out the best in them, because every person has both a male and a female side.
That's it. That's right. Oh, thank you. All right. So everybody can find you obviously on all of his social media. And is it John Gray on social media? How would you like them to?
I'm too busy with my personal life to do social media.
Right.
I'm a different generation. I'm very I do have a really nice website. My daughter, Lauren, has put it together. Courses for women only, courses on sex. A lot of good stuff there. I'm with my dog now and I'm dating again after losing my wife. And I'm very, very happy. And I continue teaching. I'm teaching workshops and doing my thing. So I'm not on the social media thing. However, marsvenus.com, we do have free classes for you. And thanks for letting people know.
Yes. Yes. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, John Gray, Dr. John Gray, for your wisdom. You've written 1,000 gazillion books, all on 27. That's a lot. That's a lot of books. All about this, so if you're having problems, you have Mars, Venus in the bedroom, you have, Mars, Venus in the workplace, you cover everything. Go ahead.
On a date, and as parents, those are our key ones. Starting over, if you've divorced, how to get going again and so forth, how to heal the heart. We've got a lot of other, how to help your child who has ADD, the whole range of topics on wellness and so forth. But my expertise is men and women. That's what's really needed in the world that I see today. This confusion about men and women, the gender neutrality, identity politics. The effect of it is denormalizing heterosexual marriage. And we need men and women making babies. And happy babies, happy parents. And happy relationship does support a more effective and supportive, a more affluent workplace. People, if you can be married and have a woman love you, I'm talking to the men, and you have a woman who loves you, you radiate trust. Everybody wants to work with you. It's a little bit, if I was a single guy, I have a girlfriend now, but if I wanted to get a girlfriend, I'd bring my puppy out into the dog park.
That's a chick magnet.
Women think if he could take care of a dog, he must be quite an amazing guy.
That is a chick magnet, the little puppy, for sure.
I just carry one of my books around.
That too. Hold that one up. That's Mars, Venus in the bedroom, I believe.
That was the bedroom. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Genius work. Thank you so much for your body of work. Really.
It was
no pun intended.
It was the #1 best-selling book on the New York Times list for a year. And yet I'm not famous for this. I'm famous for Men Are From Mars, which is about 5 years.
Well, because you just blew open a whole thought process that nobody ever for the gazillion million years ever thought about. That's why you rocked the world in the 90s. I remember it.
Yeah,
it was big. The world. it was huge, but that's why people remember you for that.
That's
They'll
great.
remember you for this, for the bedroom one also, but you just rocked the world in the 90s.
Yeah, it was
Thank you
great.
again.
Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. You can see this interview with the amazing Dr. John Gray all over like Apple streaming TV and Amazon, whatever it's called, Amazon Fire and Roku and all of those, as well as my new YouTube channel. So go to Erin Ley Life on Track and you can subscribe there for free and you'll see it there, and lifeontrack.tv. You'll see it there as well. So thank you so much again, John Gray. And thank you everybody for listening. And I look forward to hearing from all of you, and definitely don't walk, run to marsvenus.com. And have a magnificent day, everyone. And always remember to live onward and upward. Love you.
Thank you.